Hey, welcome to the Dreppin' Stone podcast, the podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Every once in a while, we get an opportunity to hang out with fellow whiskey nerds, and guess what?
We're going to do it.
So everybody say hello to our friends of the show, Mark and Sean. Hey, guys.
What's going
What's
on?
happening? Thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Dreppin' Stone experience.
I am looking forward to some crazy experience for sure. It's going to get wild.
There you go.
So you guys are the, what would you call yourselves? The founders, co-founders, head bottle washers? What would you call yourselves of the Orlando Whiskey Festival?
Well, whenever Sean's not around, I'm the founder.
Yeah.
And when he's around, I'm the co-founder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we founded this back in the festival for 2015, but it goes before that too.
Yeah. 2013. 12.
Yeah.
12, 13.
2013, Whiskey and Biz.
Yep.
So, guys, before we get started talking about the Orlando Whiskey Festival and the beginnings of all of this, I know our listeners want to hear about you guys and your kind of start in the whiskey community as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think what we would like to know is, like, for you guys being the organizers of this awesome event, give us an introduction into your whiskey story. You said that, like, this kind of started with both of you had a common fascination with the spirit. What started it for you?
So yeah, no, totally. Like the first, what was your first whiskey, Sean?
Okay, let's not talk college, right? Because none of that matters.
No. First time when you're interested in, like,
the first time I tried it, and I was like,
connoisseur or a connoisseur.
The first time I appreciated the whiskey, right?
No, wait. I want to hear the college whiskey. No, seriously, like, what was it?
I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty sure it was either, everyone knows Jack Daniels. It was either that, or it may have been, what was the clear one? It was like a corn whiskey or something. I don't remember. It was something. It was like 101 or.
What's that? Everclear?
Bacardi 151.
Everclear. Thank you very much. It may have been Everclear. I know, right?
Bro, what is that made with? That's rubbing alcohol. No?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And at that time, it was all about, here's a shot, right?
Drunk,
You didn't even want to taste it.
Get drunk.
You didn't even want to taste it. So that's why I'm like,
now that you made us talk about the college days, can we go to the connoisseur days?
Well, you didn't answer. You didn't answer.
I don't have any college.
No college.
I don't have any. Dude, I'm 50, bro. That was too long ago. I don't remember.
But I remember the first time I had a whiskey where I was like, wow, like I was pulling things out of it and I was actually appreciating it. And this was due to the gentleman I was drinking with, because he was educating me. He was like, you need to drink this like for the whiskey, not like to have a shot. Like, you're going to drink this and you're going to, appreciate it. And I was like, okay, cool. And this is a gentleman I know from my church named Jim Sellers. And like, I was hanging out at his house and he had a bottle of Singleton Scotch, and I believe it was the 12-year. It could have been 18, but I think it was the 12-year. And so he poured me some of that, and I had it for the first time. I was like, wow, there's something to this. I actually can appreciate it. And I hadn't had Scotch at that point in time. So that was like new for me, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. So that was the beginning.
So for me, back like 2011, 2012, my pastor actually, Peter Brunton, he's from Scotland. So like he had Scotch over there and he let me try. I think my first thing I tried was Lagavulin 16, and I hated it, man. I hated it. That was like, this is so nasty. And then I tried it again another time, and then I loved it. So I think when I got into like my first collection of 5 whiskeys, one of them did have the Bunnahabhain 12, because I heard the Bunnahabhain is like a light peat. So that was my first experience, was Lagavulin. I hated it and I love it. But I love Ardbeg even more. But if you want to know the favorite pour, I'm sure you're going to ask us, but I'll tell you right now. My favorite pour probably of all time, now that I'm thinking, is probably, Sean, remember that Pappy and Friends we did when we got that 200th anniversary Lagavulin 25-year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. We tried that at Corona, and that was like the best peated Scotch I've ever had in my life.
Was it sherried though? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like a sherried bourbon?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was finished.
It was.
That was so good, dude. And so we had to find it to have it in our event.
Very rich.
We found it a few years ago for like $1,300. When our event comes and it passes, we raise a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden it's like $4,000 now to buy it.
Right.
So it's like, I wish I never opened it. I mean, there's so many whiskeys we wish we never opened. I know what your story's going to be, man. I have a feeling.
Okay.
Feeling, bro.
Yeah.
But you got to tell it. You got to tell it,
Well,
man.
well, you tell me, is it a Scotch or a bourbon?
That's a Scotch.
Okay, you're right.
Tall tree, bro.
Yep.
My house.
Yep, your house. Was it but I always get it confused. Was it a 22 or a 24?
No, it was like a 21.
Was it 21? Are you serious?
Yeah, it was at 1990.
It doesn't even matter.
1990, 21, but it was back in like
GlenDronach 21.
single cast, like PX or something. One of those ones back
to this
like in 2013,
day,
2014.
to this day, all like the 20 and up GlenDronachs that we've gotten, because we've gotten like a 22, I think, and a 24 and something else. They've
27.
27.
And then we have a 30 coming up for the next Pappy and Friends batch.
They're so good. GlenDronach's always had a sweet spot.
Yeah, we love that flavor profile, man.
At least when, they had the original 15-year revival.
But Sean, do you remember when you were in my kitchen and you tried it? Because I couldn't believe how good it was. And do you remember, I remember your smile that you had on your face. I've never seen that smile since.
I took the first sip. I got a huge smile on my face.
Crazy smile. I couldn't believe it.
And then I almost choked on the whiskey because I started to laugh because I was like, this is so good. This is
so freaking good.
And I started laughing while the whiskey was still in my mouth. So naturally, I practically almost choked on my whiskey. But
honestly, like we've done a couple of episodes with some of the Diageo special releases here lately. I think that's been our experience of like, why is this so good?
Yeah.
And like, you're just,
I think it's because you just don't know what's out there, right? Like you have a ceiling of what you've tried, but there's something way better out there still. It's crazy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Just listening from your responses there, like I feel like we have the same kind of sentiment. And I hear a lot of people in the whiskey community kind of have that same kind of feeling towards the whiskeys that I've had in the past and how I feel like they're possibly better and maybe things are changing. They're changing the way that they're aging things or something like that. And that whiskey that I had back then is better than the version that I have of it now. Like, do you have that same kind of sentiment about some of your favorite whiskeys? I know we definitely do.
I would say more for the bourbon stuff, right, Sean?
I mean, it's a mixture of the two. I would agree with you as far as the most part goes, yeah. But definitely, I mean, you can't help the fact that when your demand increases so exponentially like it has, you're going to do anything you can to meet it. And a lot of times that comes with a sacrifice in the quality of your product. And it stinks because on one hand, at least we're getting more product. A lot of new stuff is coming out, which is awesome. But at the same time, say goodbye to some of the amazing gems that used to be out there. I mean, just look at the antique collection. I mean, there was a time when Mark and I went to Corona Cigar and we had for the first time a George T. Stagg and a Thomas H. Handy side by side. I think it was 2012 release or
2013 probably. Those releases like that Handy 2013.
It blew our minds. We were like, this is probably to this day I think that's the best bourbon and best rye I've had side by side. And
it's so good that I found another bottle like a few years ago and we had it at our Pappy and Friends. But there was a huge difference between like that release of Handy and like, let's say the 2019, 2020, it was like not even comparable, Right. And I think things are coming back though. I feel like, because one of them was unreal when it came out is like the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Remember the old bottle? Mm-hmm. It was like a stumpier bottle.
Oh yeah.
The second release was just unreal. Or like the Colonel E.H. Taylor, a barrel proof, like one of the first few, 2013 was like unreal. And then they just kind of went through like a season of like not so unreal. But now the Elijah Craig that they came out with is pretty amazing. Like any of the barrels were like super good. Like I see the one right now that I'm looking at behind you. I wonder what that is.
This is the toasted barrel.
That's the toasted. Okay, so it's not the barrel proof.
I've got the barrel proof. It's one of the ones from last year.
Yeah, I think it's it's a confluence of distilleries weren't prepared, especially here in America. They weren't prepared for this boom, and how could you be? Especially when you're aging something. Even 4 years. Let's say whiskey boom starts in 2015, and that's where it really starts to ramp up. I'm not surprised at all. And here lately, within the last Kyle, maybe 4 or 5 years, that's where you've seen people. I mean, the Blanton craze is just insane. And it's still insane. We could debate warranted or not, but you have all these distilleries who are just trying to catch up. Yeah. And I think, Mark, you're right. Like now you're starting to see the expectation of what the bottle was for those of us who have been around for a while start to come back, because now it's like, okay, we've kind of settled into this a little bit. We've figured out how to do volume. Now we have to go back to what we once were.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll head into another direction now. What's the bottle that you're on the look for, whether that's at your event that you're trying to get or just personally at home?
I mean, I got a good story. I don't know if Sean has a bottle that he's
Go
looking
ahead.
for.
Start it.
Yeah. So we actually got connected with, I don't know if you guys know who Chris Comstock is. He used to be a big head up in Buffalo Trace. And we got connected with him through someone that went to school with him. And this was when we were doing Cocktails for a Cause 2014, 2015. You know, this guy, you could look him up. He gets interviewed, but he's not at Buffalo Trace anymore. I think he's left. But anyway, he used to hook us up. I mean, dude, one year I remember he sent us like 4 or 5 different Colonel H. Taylors. One of them was like the 4 grain. Like it was like the complete collection. And we auctioned it off and made a bunch of money for the charity. But one time when I went to Buffalo Trace, I don't know if it wasn't with you, Sean, right? It might have been even with my wife back in 2015, 2016. I wanted to meet him. And this guy was like taller than me. I'm 6'6". He's taller than me and looked like Chevy Chase, dude. It was like really funny. But anyway, he's like, hey, do you want to go into this bottling room, the original bottling room, where like this little tiny room right in the center of the distillery. It's super small. But so I went in there. Dude, they had these 2 Pappies in there that I've never seen before. They're not regular releases. They're like crazy money. And then I saw something about like the top 10 most expensive bottles. One of them was on there. So they were just sitting there, bro, like in a case, like closed. Like you've never seen these labels before. You might have, but like you don't see them, anywhere ever. Yeah. Super special, like special select, like barrel for somebody special back in 2010 or who knows what. Anyway, I'd like to get one of those, but you probably could. You'd pay 20 G's for it,
right,
or more.
Absolutely.
So that's always the bit that like eats away at my brain, is to know that there's stuff out there that exists that you'll never have access to, that's actually the best of all of it, that they've got tucked away somewhere that's just absolutely private,
Yeah, and some of that like stuff that Willett was putting out back in like 2015, 2014, like they had this, oh my gosh, I had a bottle of this and I got rid of it, but that was probably the best bourbon I ever tried, because what the guy was telling me about this one specific Willett was a 21 year. And it was a bottle, I forgot the barrel. It's a famous barrel. I don't know. If you're into Willett, like, and know these barrels and stuff, like if I said this number, I don't remember it anymore. But anyway, I tried it at the Harrison Smith House in Bardstown. Have you guys ever been to Bardstown?
Yep.
You have? Well, there used to be a restaurant called Harrison Smith.
Yeah.
You remember that one? They closed down. So the guy that was like a partner there was Justin, and he was good friends with Drew, I think, the owner of Willett. So they did all sorts of barrel picks together and stuff. So they had this barrel there, this bottle there. They had like the last like 2 pours. So I ordered a pour. I was with my wife, and I tried it. And the guy, Justin, was telling me this is like, told me it was like Pappy 23 but cast strength. That's what he was telling me. Like literally. He's like, this is like from the barrels where they pull Pappy, and this is cast strength. This is Willett. Like he had insider information. So I tried it, dude. It was like so good. I had like a 2.5, 3 ounce pour. It was like the best bourbon I ever tried. Those are just like the experiences, those memories you never forget,
Absolutely.
Right.
So those are.
Sean, what about you?
Mine also is attached to an experience. So like, I want to say this was probably back in, I don't know, maybe like 2013 or 14. I had my stepbrother over one night, and he's a professional basketball player in the European League. His name is Nick Calathis. So I have him over for dinner one night, he and his fiance, and like we're just hanging out, and I'm letting him try some of my whiskeys. I'm kind of giving him like a tasting, and he's appreciating it, and he's like, if you could get any bottle right now, like, what would you get? And I'm like, probably one of the most expensive things at Total Wine. And he's like, let's go. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, let's go. And I'm like, all right. So we hop in his Raptor and we drive over to the closest Total Wine, and we get out and we go and look in the whiskey section. And there behind the glass, locked container is a whole bunch of really nice stuff. And at the time, for me, like one of my favorite Scotch brands was Balvenie. Like I just really thought that their Scotch, and to this day, I still think it's super solid. I love the variety they offer. And so I look in there and I see a Balvenie 30. And I'm like, I know, I'm like, what about that one? And he was like, you got it. And they pull it out, we go, we buy it. And at that time, dude,
What is it, like $600?
it was $700. And I'm like, that's a lot of, I would never buy a whiskey for that much money. Now it's like probably 1,700. I have no idea.
No, it's like,
Yeah,
we just bought one, actually.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have it at the next Peppy and Friends.
And so,
to honor you.
dude, I brought that home and I tried that. And like
all tried
his face was the exact same face as all the other whiskeys he had tried that night.
It's like the
But
same
my
stuff.
face was like, my mind was blown. I was like, this is the best scotch ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I still remember. And so like I held on to that bottle as long as I could. I really enjoyed every pour. I think Mark and all of our buddies, we've all had it and we all really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I would love to have another bottle of that.
So tell us a little bit about Whiskey and Biz. What is that?
Sean, how did it come about, man?
That was an interesting time in our lives. You and I were both actually looking to start something new, some sort of like a group, something different, something outside of the box, because Mark and I go to the same church together, and we used to do kind of like a Bible study type thing together, and we were trying to start something new, like I said, out of the box. And we're like, what if we did something that was towards doing what we do for a living, something that had to do with our businesses, but also something we really enjoyed. That's kind of how, after we were collaborating for a bit, we came up with, we really like whiskey, and we also have our own companies that we're trying to grow. Why don't we do something that mixes the two? And so networking and whiskey tasting was kind of the idea we came up with. And so we came up with the name Whiskey and Biz, and we decided we put on like these little mini whiskey tasting and networking events. And I mean, they were pretty cool. Mark, I mean, what would we have, like 20, 30 people come out?
Yeah, the first one we did, first we had to find a place where we can do it.
Oh, yeah,
where we
yeah.
didn't have to spend money.
Right.
So we actually found Taps in Winter Park, and on a Monday night they had this room that had nobody in it ever. So I approached him and I was like, so can we come out here, bring 20, 25 people and pay you like $5 a person for hors d'oeuvres? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So we just looked at our clients, and we said, hey, you guys want to come out to this whiskey tasting? It's like $15, $20 to come in. And what was our first lineup? Do you remember?
I'm pretty sure we had like a Balvenie.
It was all Balvenie.
Was it all?
Yeah, it was like the 14. Yeah, it was a 14, 17, and the 21. That was the first Whiskey and Biz event back in 2013.
Yep.
And so we did those.
We were doing those like every
month. Yeah, we did them every month. And Sean is in creative, right? So he brands, he does websites, he does all that stuff. He creates things. So It was real easy for us to make ourselves look like we knew what we were doing. And and so within a couple times of us spending our own money on whiskey, I was like, I'm in sales. Like, that's what I do all the time. So like I just started reaching out to some brands like through a liquor store. I think we knew Sam at the time at 5 Star, and I think and so we basically just started calling brands saying, hey, we got a following, because we set up a MailChimp, right Sean? You did MailChimp. We started signing people up. So after like 2 or 3 or 4 events, we started like having reps come bring their product. So we started making money. And then we were like, well, we're not doing this for profit. We want to do this to give back. So let's find a charity. Luckily, the Lovely Project is something that was started out of our church. So it was super easy transition to bring them on and say, well, we're just going to start donating money to you guys.
One of the obvious weird questions is, okay, how did you go from Bible study to whiskey tasting and networking? How do you make that kind of?
How did we? I'm curious to know what you think.
Yeah, well,
sounds like a natural transition to me.
Yeah, naturally.
It felt pretty natural. Honestly, we had been kind of pretty deep in the whiskey game at that time, or at least not in the sense of like all of our networking and stuff, but as far as Mark and I trying stuff, like we had a whiskey log. We were like, we don't even have these anymore, but at the time we had like
connoisseur,
remember? We were like 300
that was
feet, and like all of our different stuff we logged and blah, blah, blah. So we thought, we know enough to once again fake it to like these people and say like, hey, we have an authority in this matter. And so, we can talk to people with authority on this topic of whiskey. And then once we network with them and once we get to know them, we'll have an opportunity to, talk about
to work with them.
That was our way of tying the two together. It was wild. But
so how did it? So wait, Sean, I'm sorry, but how did we How did it become like, how was the transition?
But also that was also the opportunity to talk about the charity that was getting started from a birth.
Yeah.
It was being birthed out of our church, and like it was called Lovely Project, and we were like trying to help them. We were like, this is the perfect opportunity to tie all these things together, because then we can give the money to them and help them grow, and we can talk about them at these events, and
Yeah.
you know, get eyes on them.
And back then it was easy to get like limited release stuff. So like
Oh, it was
we would
so
always,
easy.
yeah, it was so easy. Like I guess the reps didn't have like the big X on them where they can't
No.
get anything, right?
Yeah,
So because of all the scandal that they did. So yeah, for us it was really easy. So after every event we'd always do like an auction, because we did invite people that were philanthropic too, you know, because we started pushing the idea like we're raising money for the charity. So we always did an auction at the end. Like we had a Four Roses 125th one time when we did a Four Roses event, and we always took pictures. I was a photographer at the time. Sean had the branding. We had the website. We posted. We did social media, and then the opportunity came to do a bigger event. Do you remember the University Club? We got approached. I don't know how that got connected, but they have this event, or I don't even know if they're a thing anymore, but they're like downtown Orlando exclusive club, members only type of thing. And basically they have this thing called Cocktails for a Cause. And we were one of the we were chosen to be able to raise money, and we actually raised the most money any Cocktails at the Cause ever did. Like it was like 13-14 grand, which is like a lot for a first time event. Boom.
Wow.
Dude, that event had so many limited release, bro. That had like everything, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, dude.
I think-
Tappies and antique and everything. Just
Absolutely. And if I remember correctly,
Robert Palmer, RP
Palmer,
Funding.
sorry.
Yeah, he came out.
Robert
he came out
Palmer.
with his chauffeur or something.
Yeah, he showed up and he bid and bought one of the Pappies and then opened it and started pouring it for everybody.
Yeah, he was pouring it for
Oh, snap.
That's cool.
That's why.
and we've been trying to get that guy to come to our big fundraiser every year, but you know, we can't even get in touch
That
with
was
him.
the only one he came to.
So that takes us to like 2014.
Wow. It's really interesting to see like how, especially, you know, with you guys and the whiskey community as a whole, you know, and we've been around, the podcast has been around, what, we're on 5 years, Kyle? This is our fifth
Yeah.
year?
Headed towards that way.
Yeah. And, you know, just what we've experienced and what, you know, we used to be able to find readily, you know, before that in our own kind of personal whiskey journeys, if you will. And then now you walk into a liquor store and it's the same stuff over and over again. It's like, man, if we were doing this, you know, 7-8 years ago, what we would have had access to.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like 2015, 2016, bro, like age statement Japanese whiskeys, bro, like all day long, Yoichi 20 and like Yamazaki 18, sherry cask. Dude, it was all there, man. It was all, I wish we can go back in time and buy all that stuff up.
So that takes us to, you said 2014. So this is all
Yeah.
pre-Orlando Whiskey Festival.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was the genesis of the Orlando Whiskey Festival?
Honestly, it was that event at the University Club, because after
Right.
we had that event, we realized we're on to something here. Like, we can get a lot of people to come and we can get them to, you know, be at this event and hear about the Lovely Project and give money. We can turn this into something else. And Mark had been already really dreaming of having something big like a festival, and he had mentioned it here and there. But once we had that event, it really opened our eyes to, this is possible. Like, this can be done. Yeah, we started taking steps towards it at that point.
Dave LaRue from ABC,
ABC,
our good
yeah.
friend Dave,
Yeah.
connected me to Cox events, because they were doing already Cows and Cabs in Winter Park, right? That was ABC and Four Rivers, those two guys, John Rivers and Dave LaRue, that they started that event. So Dave connected me to Cox Media, who was doing events, and they did our first like 7 events or 6 events or something like that. Once Cox Media was hooked up and they were going to help us with this event, they're like, hey, let's figure this out. And they're like, well, one of our clients is Mercedes-Benz
Yes.
in Maitland. So that's kind of where that connection. And so our first like 5 or 6 festivals, 2015 was the first one. We're at Mercedes-Benz, one of those being at Audi, which was like a one-off.
Yeah.
That was, we don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
It had potential, but let's just say we didn't want to do it after that event.
But yeah, the Mercedes dealership there on 1792 was that was like our OG spot, and we had Four Rivers barbecue there for like the first couple years too because of John.
Oh, that's right. John brought all of the Winter Park restaurants. That was, oh, by the way, the first festival was the best food it's ever been and it will ever be. Okay, just after that, it was just too hard to get food, so we're not like focusing on food anymore.
So when you guys started in 2015, it was at a couple of the bigger car dealerships. So then how did you eventually move to what is that? Well, how did you move to the Orlando Science Center? Like, what was that progression?
Yeah. So, I mean, originally for us, because once again, the company Whiskey and Biz exists to help fund the charity, The Lovely Project. That's our goal, right? That's what we do. And so many events have been birthed out of this. I mean, you know of the Orlando Whiskey Festival, but there are others like Pappy and Friends and stuff that we do to help raise money for them. But this is like the big thing that everyone gets access to. And so over the years, like we've always looked for a venue that is willing to partner with us to a degree where it's either a no cost or a very, very low cost because of the charity. They understand what we're trying to accomplish. And so that's why the dealerships were always great because, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was almost no cost to the dealerships, right?
There was zero cost,
Yeah.
but it was marketing for them.
Right, marketing for them, but zero cost for us, which is a win-win. Well, once we grew out of the dealership because of the space, we had to look for another venue that we still felt could handle like the growth that we were going through, but could offer what we needed. And so we pivoted to Ace Cafe
Yes.
downtown.
That was the
Gotcha.
outdoor
Okay.
event, which was phenomenal, actually. That was 2019, Sean.
It was the first time we ever had an outdoor event. And yeah, it was really great. There was a couple of hang-ups with cost and the ticketing process. They wanted to do stuff and take it out of our hands, and we didn't feel comfortable with that. And ultimately, we did it for 2 years there. Things were good. We didn't.
Well, 2019, the first year, 2020,
Well,
we were
right.
about to do the next festival there,
skip.
and like 3 days before COVID, like
Yeah.
Disney announced we're shutting Disney, and we shut our festival down because they said that. We were actually going to have the festival, but until they said that, it was like too much liability.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Right. We skipped 1 year, right?
Yeah, 1 year. So then we came back 2021.
Yeah.
That was the sixth annual, and then the last 2 years have been the Orlando Science Center.
So because of what, like I said, because of the cost factor and some of the other behind the scene things, the logistical things that can really make things it can make or break things for us. It's got to be something that we can work with.
It's true. Whoever works with us has to be win-win. Like we are trying to be win-win. We want to benefit them. But if there's any hint of like they're not into like the win-win-win mentality, we move on. Like, I mean, we haven't moved on much, but like what we have going on now is phenomenal with the Science Center.
I mean, it's still a paid type scenario now, but the Science Center understands what we're trying to do, and they put a lot of control into our hands, and so that's what we're looking for. So that's why they've been a great partner so far.
What intrigues me most is I have like very limited experience with putting on something like this. Like best I could do is when I was at UCF, I was in the art program, and we had to put together a show one time where we had to find a space, and we ended up there was a Mini Cooper dealership on Orange Avenue that had just closed down. And our professor at the time knew the owner of the building. We were able to get in there and utilize that space, but just the logistics of putting together an event like that and all the organization that it takes, and especially when you're doing something with whiskey that is so broad, like what's the organization of whiskey? Like, is it through distributors primarily? Like, what is that process?
I've kind of been on the ground floor dealing with the whiskey brands from the beginning. Sean hasn't. He's more been on the back end with, creative and all that stuff. And then now we have a full team.
I'm outward facing, whereas Mark is inward, like he connects with the people.
But now we have a full team, so there's 6 of us. So there's 4 other guys that are doing different things. But no, I haven't been dealing with the distributors for the most part. It's been mostly vendors that it could be small distributors, or it could be direct. I don't ask those questions, right? So like, I don't care how they get the whiskey there.
Right.
That's just how I look at it.
Just get it there. No, but I kind of feel where your head's at with how you're wondering with the logistics and all this stuff, and how does this even come about? And like when Mark and I started the first festival, it was really Mark, myself, and Mark's wife Erica,
My wife, yeah.
helping to put the entire thing together.
The first 2 festivals, actually.
First two, yeah, right. And it was, we're talking like freaking out in the stairwell, like keep it together. We can pull this thing. We can pull it through.
Yeah, and Cox was helping us, but they were getting like a quarter of what they should be getting to run the full event. So
Right.
we had to pass it on to them at the third
Right.
event, and then
Yeah.
they basically handled a lot, like day of stuff, 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the kind of craziness that has happened is wild. I mean, look, we're talking like end of an event one year, the dealership people showing up saying like, you got to clear out all this stuff before the end of the night when the contract said we had till the next morning, and like nobody's there, and it's just like two
Yeah,
or three people.
we won't
We're
mention
like,
which dealership.
what the heck? And we're like freaking out. Like crazy stuff happens.
Oh yeah, one year, guys. Like I think the third annual, this was crazy. ATF shows up, literally guns on their side, coming in, really kind and nice and everything. And our event guy at the time, I won't say who he is, but he's gone. He didn't get fired because of it or anything like that. He moved away. But he's like, "Hey, ATF is here, guys. We got to go talk to him." My wife's like white face, bro. We went outside. Dude, they forgot to file like a $25 permit with Winter Park. It was ridiculous. But they were super nice, dude. But they were like legit. Like you would see these people on like a reality show, you know. I was like, they let us have the event. They just let us continue. We were nice to them, you know. Back. So.
Like, would you like a pour?
Yeah, right.
It's probably not what you want to say to the ATF agent. Like, hey, you sure? Like,
It's crazy. It's crazy. There's always been an incident every year where it's like something happened, you know, like one year somebody gets rushed off to ER, you know, because they just drank too much.
Yeah.
Or like another year, remember at Ace that elevator, that lady screaming wouldn't come off the elevator. They had to call like
She wouldn't get off the elevator.
paramedics to get her off the elevator because nobody wanted to grab her to take her out of the elevator.
Wild stuff.
But listen, this last event, which was the biggest one, had zero incidents.
wow.
It's crazy because I talked to the police officer that was there at the end, and she's like, "No, there's nothing." I was
Yeah.
like, what?
All
I was like,
good.
how is that possible?
Yeah, you know,
1,200 people.
and from, I mean, first of all, like, thank you to you guys because we had an amazing spot just kind of on that top floor. We got to talk to so many people, and I talked with obviously a bunch of people just kind of wandering around the festival, trying things, and it was very clear that, kudos to you guys. This is very well run. It's very clear that it's not, let's go just drink a bunch of whiskey. I mean, sure, that's a part of it, but it's, let's go experience things. Let's go talk to people. Let's, have this kind of community together. And Kyle and I have been to events where it's just a booze fest. And that's not what I experienced. It was awesome because of that. I mean, sure, you have people who are doing their own thing, I guess we'll say, but from everything I saw, it was smooth sailing.
Appreciate that, man. That means a lot.
And that's
cool.
our goal. I mean,
It's always been classy. I mean, Mercedes Benz,
that
right?
was our
Audi.
goal.
Like it's always like we've always looked for a class level.
100%.
But we set our prices a certain amount where like people that are just going to get drunk, like college people, they can't afford to come. They're
Right.
not going to come.
Well, and I think that's what I mean too. It's like this. It felt like a community coming together, and we're all here for a certain thing. Sure, all of those growing pains, I guess you kind of talking about, are those things that this happens every year. Something's going to happen, sure, but it just felt produced really well put together. And again, kudos to you guys because that was awesome.
Did you guys get a chance to meet these guys? I'm just going to show you this, man. Sean, I said every time these dudes come, I'm like, I'm going to get a picture with these guys. Tell me if you can see.
The Fedora gang.
Oh, those dudes, bro.
Not Fedoras. I don't know what the hats are called.
Dude, those dudes are like legit.
Yeah.
I was talking to the guy, and he was telling me a little bit about like what they do and stuff like that. So what kind of feedback did you get from people that were coming up to you?
A lot of it was, this is really cool. There's a lot of really good vendors here. There's a lot of variety. I think that was the thing that I heard most. There's a lot of variety. It's not just bourbon. It's not just scotch and this and that and the other. And I think people were really happy to see, you had lines that were longer and lines that were shorter, but, things were moving. People were trying to have, vendors or distributors were trying to have short conversations, but it was, here's the thing. If you have questions, I'd love to talk to you, but here's a pour of something. And then from that end of people kind of coming up and talking to us, just wanting to have conversations about whiskey. And I think that's cool. It's not just let's drink a bunch of stuff and go party. It's here's a small pour. Let's think about it. And that I really appreciated. And people were really willing to do that too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that goes back to the logistical side again. Is like, for us on the back end, we're still having to have, conversations with vendors beforehand, like educating them on, hey, this is how you keep the line moving. But if you want to talk to people, gather a couple of them around and give your spiel to a group, make your pours, and then move them on and get the next group in versus, having one-on-one conversations. Because you're right, it creates these long lines. And every year it's something that we got to go through.
Oh, another whiskey too that we actually got for Pappy, and we haven't really talked about Pappy and Friends much, but it's so cool because it's this invite-only dinner that we do. We created this event in 2019, and it's basically the premise is we do a dinner for really philanthropic, like wealthy people, right, through our connections, and we always have like one Pappy there, right? Because these people that are philanthropic and wealthy don't run in the circle, they're not dorks like us or you guys, more dorky than us probably.
We just want to have Pappy.
So they're like, oh my gosh, you can get a Pappy there. So they end up coming, and so we've had so we have to procure all this whiskey all the time. Like we buy all this stuff all the time, no big deal, because our last Pappy and Friends raised $140,000. So it's no big deal to buy a complete Pappy collection for 15 grand. It's like not a big deal at all for us, And so we've gotten, connected with a lot of people over the years. We've had Preston Van Winkle on a couple times with I send him a collection of Pappies. He sends them all signed back to me. So now we're auctioning off signed bottles of. One time he got his dad to sign it, so there was like one signed by Julian and Preston. Wes Henderson of Angels Envy is a good friend of ours as well. So he actually was at the last event. Yeah. He was freaking giving away tickets to his castle because he just bought the Kentucky Castle. I don't know if you guys heard.
Yeah.
So it's just so fun when we do these events and we get to buy all these whiskeys. So one of the whiskeys, this is why I'm telling you this, is one of the whiskeys we tried when we went out with that guy Adams. When he took us to Shea Vincent, dude, so he's like, get whatever scotch you want. So this is funny. Sean, being all conservative. He's being modest. He's like, I'll get the Highland Park 18 because he's being modest because they're paying. And I'm like, shoot, I'm getting the Highland Park 25, old school, dude, 50.7%, like yummy. Dude, it was so good, and I never forgot how good it was. So we actually got it like last year or 2 years ago at one of our Pappy and Friends. I found it for like $1,700. Just bought it.
Just remember this: if we ever go out to get whiskey together, if you decide to say, "Hey, next pours on me," just remember that with Mark around.
Oh, if I ever say that, you're gonna get me good.
Yeah. If we ever go out, those words are never going to come out of my mouth. Or what else?
Whatever you want.
What I'll say is, hey, next pours on me, and this is what we're having.
Yeah.
So where do you guys see the future of the Orlando Whiskey Festival and whiskey and biz as a whole going? What do you guys see happening for the future?
We're always looking at the future and how, what does this look like for us? How can we grow? How can we change to meet the need of people who want to continue to try whiskey and grow in whiskey, but also at the same time continue to fund the Lovely Project because they are continuing to grow. So it's as we grow, they grow too. Because I know we haven't talked about them a lot, but basically what they do is they help young girls in Florida. Basically, getting out of very dangerous situations, whether it be abuse, physical harm,
even sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking. We've helped a lot of people actually get out of sex trafficking situations. Yeah, like I said, abusive homes and stuff like that. And we basically help them to find their voice, their valor, and their value. Well, we don't, but the Lovely Project does. And they have these huge events where they bring in tons of girls, and they're called one day experiences called
Lovely Experience.
Lovely Experience, yeah.
They just had one. They had 300 girls.
Yeah, 300 girls. And they do they have these one-on-one.
They're in 17 public schools as well.
Yeah, so a lot of the cost is the cost to get into the school to help fund people to put their time, because there's a ton of people who are putting in volunteer hours, but it takes money to get into the schools. It takes money to have at least one paid employee basically run the entire thing. And it takes money to put on these big experiences because these girls come, it's free for them. We're not charging them to get through the door. We're trying to help them, right? So all this money goes to that. And the more money we can get, raise for them, the more schools they can get into, the more small
the more they can expand.
Open up for peer mentorship and help these girls. And so there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. So all that being said, we're never thinking like, oh, well, we're happy with the way things are. We'll let it sit. We'll let it stay. We are looking at growth. And even one of the newest things that we have in the works right now for the future is Infamous Whiskey. And so Infamous Whiskey is a startup whiskey distillery company that is out of Georgia. Basically, like Mark and I have joined their their team, their squad, and we're working with them to help actually make it a reality. And they have committed to donate part of their proceeds to the Lovely Project. So it's another avenue where we're going to be able to bring more money to the Lovely Project. So everything that we get involved in, we make sure in some way it gives back. We have felt that the only reason we've ever even had any of this success is because we have that aspect involved, basically.
Yeah, for sure. We're not doing this to fill our bellies, It's we enjoy it,
Right.
But it's really ultimately like giving back is what produces the fruit of everyone wanting to get involved with you, like all the relationships, the partnerships we made, Wes Henderson, Van Winkle's, like, Mercedes, you got John Rivers. It's all because we're giving back. They wouldn't even look at us if we weren't giving back.
It's a win-win.
None of them.
Absolutely.
They have so many people wanting to get stuff from them, that want it for themselves. So it's cool, man. The Infamous Whiskey is definitely a reality. My longtime friend, Lorenz, he's the CEO, and he brought me on board. And the way it kind of came to fruition is I invited Lorenz after I've lost touch with him for like 15 years. I had invited him to come to the Orlando Whiskey Festival back in 2019. Mm-hmm. And so I introduced him to whiskey. 2 years passed because of COVID, and by the time he comes back for the second festival, he's literally come up with this idea, this 58-page pitch deck, brought on another one of his good friends from his childhood, who's an attorney, who's the legal side of it. And then he's basically recruited me because of my expertise with whiskey and connections, and now we're basically part of the company, and then I bring Sean on board, I bring his brother on board, and we just kind of like are this team now. And actually, funny story is tomorrow we're going to Daytona because we just sponsored one of the trucks that are in the Craftsman Truck Series.
Awesome.
So Infamous Whiskey is going to be on there.
That's super cool.
We did it last year at Bristol, but now we're doing Daytona this year. And so Sean is going with his brother, myself. And I want to get your feedback on did you guys get a chance to swing by Infamous Whiskey at the Orlando Whiskey Festival?
No, and I'll tell you why. That table was covered up, which is awesome. I mean, every time I went by, our team, I sent them out and said, hey, you guys go try stuff, see what you think, report back, and then I'll go with some recording stuff and go talk to people. So every time they went by the Infamous Whiskey area, other than, that first little bit, it was covered up. And I was like, I'd like to talk to these people, but it's covered. So
It was getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, which is awesome.
We got to get you our Act One Clear whiskey, man.
I actually have one that I can get you guys.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
You have a sample bottle?
I have a sample bottle.
Yeah, because we're at limited. I mean, we're doing everything all at once. We're going toward DSP. We bought our property already. We just we're in zoning right now, so it's like all happening. It's all like growing.
It's crazy how all that stuff just like boom, 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 boom. It happens so quick, and that's super cool. Yeah, we'd love to feature it on an upcoming episode. That'd be really fun.
Where did you say in Georgia?
Greensboro. So it's actually about an hour southeast of Atlanta and about an hour southwest of Augusta. And it's basically, it's right at Lake Oconee. You could Google Lake Oconee. It's like a tourist destination, bro.
Super nice.
It's like insane. It's got 7 golf courses. There's a Ritz-Carlton. They're all on board. Like the whole town's on board. They want to see the distillery there. It's going to bring a bunch of traffic there. It's really exciting.
I think there's something to especially the southern parts of like the southern states, the distilleries that I've had whiskey from in those areas. It's always lights out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing is
it's the right weather. And, Georgia gets cold enough.
Yeah.
Kind of like Kentucky. Not as cold, but it's pretty darn cold for a long time.
Right.
So we got
and it's
seasons.
like there's a lot of like moonshine roots in Georgia.
Absolutely.
And we're finally getting to take those roots and combine them with like, the refined distilling of like Kentucky, and take those two and really mix them together. And honestly, like we are super excited about our product because we took at our last Pappy and Friends, we had a sample of the Act One Clear whiskey, which is our like flagship. And we're sitting at the table with Wes Henderson and we're like, hey, we want to get your thoughts on this. Like for real. Like don't give us any crap. Like shoot us straight on this. and we hand it to him. And Mark, what was his exact reaction?
Yeah, he said he loves it. He said, I love the malted barley. And then he's like, take this to Christina, because Christina's a whiskey guardian for Angel's Envy. She was there doing drinks and stuff like that. And I took it to Christina and another rep. They tried it, and they were like losing their minds over it. They're like, because, you know, when you have someone clear, they're expecting it to be like Firefly, like moonshine, like just average corn stuff. And then they try something that has complexity, and it's like high malt count, and it's like sweet, and like you're like blown away. And I'm not being biased when I say it's phenomenal. You know, I've tried over 1,000 expressions of whiskey, so I've kind of been around the block, and it's pretty cool. And so from that is where we're gonna age, right? But our big thing is honestly not as much. I mean, we're gonna have bourbon. We're gonna figure out ways to finish and doing all that stuff. But our big thing is we're gonna do a crazy big campaign, whoneedsvodka.com, because that's what we're doing at the event. We did some sample videos where we compared our an espresso martini made with Act 1 versus made with a regular vodka.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
The reactions were mind-blowing, bro. It's like way, way better. Like
it's
basically cocktails with character, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
100%.
you could taste the product. You're not just getting what were you
I was going to
you
say
said
it wasn't ready. I'm sorry, it wasn't just regular. I mean, it was Tito's. We made it with what we thought would be the best at the time so that we could be a really solid comparison.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it is. It's cocktails with character. I love the way you said that, Mark, because it's true. Like, so often the idea is you make a cocktail with vodka because you don't want to taste the alcohol. But then what are you really drinking? You're just drinking a mocktail in a sense. I mean, sure, it has alcohol in it, but like if you want to drink a cocktail because you want it to have character, you want to taste the alcohol. So put alcohol in it that can actually like show off its character and change it, make it good, and add something to it, a cool quality. And that's what our Act 1 Clear Whiskey does.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then we have a ready-to-drink product called Lemon Chill as well, which is phenomenal. It's made with organic lemons. It's the Act 1 Clear Whiskey, and then a few other ingredients that are proprietary. But like people were like drinking it up, bro. Like they were loving it, and it is good. Like it's really good.
Yeah, shameless plug, I guess.
Yeah, shameful.
No, not at all.
Shameless.
Yeah, I'm now hearing you guys talk about it. Now I'm really disappointed that I didn't get to make it over there. I know my wife came back. The lemon ready to drink, was it at the event?
Yeah, it was just like in plastic
lemon
cups.
chill. Yeah, lemon chill was ready. It was ready to go. It was being served.
I know. I'm pretty sure I had it because she came back and she's like, "Hey, try this." And like in the chaos of it all, you know, you could just kind of, that's pretty good. What was that? She's like, it's the table out there. I was like, I'll have to stop back by. And again, every time I go by, it's covered up. So
yeah. So like I said, that's just another one of the avenues that we are looking at as far as expansion and growth for the future. But yeah, I mean, as far as the festival goes, obviously we are still, you know, we're in a good place right now. We just had a big expansion. Okay, the year before we were around 800, I think, right, Mark? And this year we were around 1,200. So we grew a lot, and we're feeling the pains of it right now. We're trying to fine tune a couple things before we want to grow again. Because if you grow too fast, it just ruins everything. So we typically go about every 2 years before we have another expansion, and in the amount of people we can. You know.
In the last few years, we've been selling out like a month out from the event, you know, so it's like we could have sold double the tickets, really.
Yeah.
And this was the first year we sold out before the end of the year. That's never happened. But
we got contacted by some listeners of like, "Hey, I tried to go get tickets and they're gone." I'm like, "Good." I mean, I'm sorry, but good. Like that's exactly what we hope.
Yeah.
There's a festival that you probably heard of, this festival that happens somewhere in Europe, right? It sells out the first hour.
Yeah.
We've been training like our customers since the beginning. Ever since we started the festival, pretty much, we always start our ticket sales on Black Friday. It's never changed. And so we're trying to get people to like really get on board with that, because if you're not ready on that day, you know, sorry, but that's when we do it every year. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something for all of our listeners to look forward to this coming year. Is okay. Listen, Black Friday. You know, you don't even need to leave your couch. All you gotta do, get on your computer, get on your phone, buy tickets to Orlando Whiskey Festival. It's that easy. In fact, these make great gifts for all of your family.
Absolutely. That's why we do it then too. We do it because we know that's a good gift opportunity, and honestly, that's when they're the cheapest. It's always when they're reduced price when we first open up tickets ticket sales, and that's the cheapest price.
We do another sale, but not as good. And then we also do the promo where we give away the bottles, which we did. Right. And one of the bottles, people wouldn't want to come up, so that's what the one I auctioned it off, the Old Fitzgerald 13. It went for $650. That's pretty good. I think I bought it at retail because I think Sam at 5 Star hooked me up. Sam at 5 Star, shameless plug, best liquor store, period. Most barrel picks, bro, I think out of anyone in Florida.
Definitely get over there when you get a chance. He's got an entire wall called like the 5 Star barrel picks, like everything that he gets in, they do.
He doesn't gouge his prices. Actually, how does he give away his whiskey? He sometimes does raffles.
Yeah, what he'll do is he'll get a whole bunch of like hard to find stuff, and he'll hold on to it, and then he'll hide it in his store. He'll just put it on random shelves everywhere. And then he'll say, he calls it like a scavenger hunt. And he says, okay, guys, these are in the store right now. And people got to go and look for them, and find them. It's a riot.
That's awesome.
We do have one of our barrel picks that we picked. We did an Angel's Envy barrel pick that's still there. It's called Wes Loves Lovely. Because when we went to pick it, Wes Henderson, I was like, hey, Wes, can you come and help us pick it, finalize it? So he came in there. They got this, oh my gosh, they got this new room where you do the barrel picks. It's insane, bro. They have a proprietary still that Vendome Copper and Brass built.
Yeah.
Like that you couldn't take pictures of because it was so like unique, one of one.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like they do elixirs with it and stuff. It looked phenomenal. It's like the small mini still, but it was legit. You know, they do elixirs and stuff, but they wouldn't let me take pictures of it. I wanted to so bad because the room is designed so crazy. Wes hooked up the barrel pick. He's like, I'm like, Wes, can we do a barrel pick? He's like, yeah, call her. Tell her I told you to call. It's like done. It's like done. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
You were asking what's next for Whiskey and Biz. Who knows, Sean? Maybe a podcast. I don't know what we're gonna do.
I don't know, dude. We're already. I don't know if I want to. Our time, the time that we spend on all this.
We don't have a lot of time. Hey, listen, all this stuff is for fun and for philanthropy. We have regular jobs, right? I mean, don't we all?
Don't we all?
Yeah,
we understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if anybody ever tells you, "Hey, start a podcast," it's really easy. You just throw it all together. They are lying to you,
dude.
Because that's not the case. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
As anyone in the creative industry knows. So, well, guys, thank you so much for first of all coming on and talking with us, and also letting us attend the event. We had a lot of fun, and we can't wait to partner with you guys in the future and feature some of the whiskey and attend future Orlando Whiskey Festivals because it was such a good event, well run, and everyone there had a great time, and the community as a whole, I think, really appreciates what you guys are doing for Orlando, for whiskey, for the Lovely Project, and it's just it's a lot of fun, and great job,
thanks
guys.
for having us on.
Thank you guys. Like from our perspective of it too, from the other festivals and things that we've done, the communication on your part, the organization of it. There's been so many things that we've gone to that it seemed like they were making it up on the fly and they didn't know what we were supposed to be doing or why we were there. Like this was so much better.
Awesome.
You guys have so lifetime passes to our event. So you're in.
Ooh.
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
You guys appreciate you guys too, man, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that the Dreppenstone community supports you guys and everything you're doing. And I can't wait to see how all of this grows.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Well, if you had the opportunity to attend the Orlando Whiskey Festival, we'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't attended the Orlando Whiskey Festival, what whiskey festivals have you attended? Or what whiskey festivals are you wanting to attend? Well, you can get in touch with us through email. It's dripandstone@gmail.com. You also can get in touch with us through social media.
On social media, we always use one word.
Just one?
Just a singular word.
Probably the best word.
Drepandstone.com.
What?
No. Drepandstone. DREP and Stone.
That's 3 words.
DREP and Stone. No, but we just smash it all together in one word.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good.
DREP and Stone. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever they call it nowadays.
Who knows?
TikTok. We're all over the place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff on drepandstone.com, so go check that out as well.
Yeah, a little revamp of the website over there.
Yeah. We worked hard on that one.
Yes, you did. No we involved.
And we'd love it if you support the podcast. You can do that in 3 ways. Kyle, way number 1.
Patreon?
Duh. Why would it take you so long to answer?
I wasn't sure if that was number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, sure. The first way is Patreon. That's patreon.com/drepandstone. Get some episode notes, get some first picks, get some really cool videos, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You can also support Drepandstone by rating us wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one. And finally, Kyle.
Yeah?
You can support Drepandstone by telling someone.
Wow.
I know. On that note, Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.